I'm Steve Wiggins, and this is the Groundworks Ministries podcast. Today we're reading from the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 13, and let's focus on verses 1 through 3. If a prophet or someone who has dreams arises among you and proclaims a sign or wonder to you, and that sign or wonder he has promised you comes about, but he says, "Let us follow other gods which you have not known, and let us worship them," do not listen to that prophet's words or to that dreamer, for the Lord your God is testing you to know whether you love the Lord your God with all your heart and soul. Deuteronomy 13, verses 1 through 3. Now, you probably heard of the term con man. Now, a con man is an abbreviation for confidence man, and the best con men invoke confidence in their victims, usually by promising something a little cheaper or faster or better than otherwise possible, something slightly outside of conventional methods and usually outside of the law. Bernie Madoff is perhaps the most recent successful con man in recent history, at least. And then he became a con, that is, a convict. And sadly, I don't think he ever became a convert. The person being conned has to simply be convinced to step outside of righteousness for just a moment. And that's all that a good con man needs in order to rob you. It's impossible, by the way, to con an honest person. They ask too many questions and they have too much integrity. In order to con someone, you have to have that spark of con inside of that person already. And we all have that potential, by the way. There has to be the willingness to cheat in order for someone to get lured into a con man's scheme. We've got to want something a little faster, got to want it cheaper, bigger than normally obtainable. Now, directly following God's command to stay completely within His law and to not stray to the left or to the right, well, then there was His commands concerning how to handle false prophets who are spiritual con men. Now, assumed in Deuteronomy 13 is that Israel would stay within the parameters of God's Word. And that being the case, number one, it would be completely within their capacity to spot a con man because they'd be rare. And number two, it would be impossible for Israel to be conned into following false gods because they were so intent on following the Lord. The best way to sway a nation's morality is to sway the morality of its leaders. And this is accomplished by slowly and subtly and yet deliberately steering those leaders away from God's Word. By the time of Jesus' earthly ministry, Israel's complete devotion to the Word of the Lord had been mainly replaced by devoutness to the teachings of certain rabbis. They were supporting the Torah of God, but they were not actually the Word themselves. See the subtle and yet definite diversion from complete biblical observance? With spiritual true north perverted by vain opinions of men, is it any wonder the religious leaders sought to destroy Jesus? The fact that Jesus performed miracles meant nothing to them. God predicted false prophets would do this to Israel. And in the opinion of the religious elite, the Messiah, Jesus, fit all of the criteria for a Deuteronomy 13 execution. So when our theology is perverted, then our zeal is perverted. Here's your zeal check for the day. Are you searching the Bible in order to honor the Lord by living according to His Word? Or has your lack of biblical knowledge increased your potential to become a victim of the latest religious con men? I'm Steve Wiggins, and this is the Groundworks Ministries podcast. Check us out at groundworksministries.com.